This gentleman I'm going to introduce you now is another one of those people in my life who absolutely influenced me more than anybody anywhere on the planet as a writer and a performer and just somebody I always wanted to emulate. And he's going to come and sing for you right now. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but please welcome Gordon Lightfoot.
Thank you, JP, for that wonderful intro. Okay, plug it in there. And JP Cormier, we made a whole complete album of using all of my songs. Was it 19 or 20 songs, Gordon Lightfoot songs that JP did, a whole album of my songs, and I didn't even know it was happening, that it was taking place until it came to me through the office, and I tell you, I had whole albums done by other people, and it was the instrumentation, you heard him playing the guitar here just now, rhythm guitar. That's really like a first-rate rhythm guitar that you hear from JP. A funny kind of a way it reminds me of the time that Stompin' Tom strummed me a few chords out at his house one afternoon. And I had been on the wagon for 23 years. I had been on the wagon for 23 years. From 1982 until 2005. Now, I had some serious operations, and I allowed myself to have a glass of wine one day at George Bigliardi's restaurant. Anybody remember George Bigliardi's restaurant? You remember that? Don't you remember? And but I actually, from that point of on, indulged with the odd occasional glass of wine, but still, I never turned into an alcoholic again. At that point, I'd gotten in trouble with the police and gotten DUI'd and the whole business, Became a whole saga. We took it all the way through to the Supreme Court because they let me go the first time. There was a piece of paper missing, and Roy McMurtry said, "I want that paper." So anyway, we fought it through. I hired a real good lawyer down at Goodman and Goodman. The name of Jerry Kluak took on the case, but we lost. But I never drank. I never drank for 23 years. After that, so it sure as hell taught me a lesson. So 2005, so this day I'm out at Stompin' Tom's, and I swear to God, I had sitting with Stompin' Tom in this very special, would you call it a living room with a private bar, powder room, hers, tables, a pool table, and a jukebox with 2,500 digital selections on it, one of those old ones that was, when I walked in, he played about 5 of my songs on this jukebox right off the bat. As the afternoon wore off, wonderful afternoon. We had met before, it's just we never got a chance to get together like this, and we were out around Georgetown, that's where Stompin' Tom lived, and I'm sure that Lena still is there too, and we sat and we talked, and I drank 5 moose heads. Five moose head beer. That was during that afternoon. At the time he took out his book, he took out his autobiography project that he'd been working on for I don't know how many years, but there were 2 volumes, and You know, you can hear about ghostwriting. Oh, well, somebody else did this, somebody else did the work. But he said, you know, Gordon, he said, I was talking to a guy one day who was an author, and he told me I'd been working on something, and I showed it to him. He said I'd written 30 pages. And when the author looked at it, he said, hey, Tom, he said, this sounds pretty good. Who's your ghostwriter? And Tom said, I don't have a ghostwriter. And so he said, well, why don't you just keep writing? And Tom continued to write 2 volumes. And he told me that day, he said, Gordon, he said, I remember every day, almost every week that I spent from the time I was 3 years old, he told me. And I read the first one. It took me about 6 months because I don't read books the way I used to. I read it in my office, finished it, and started. But in that, the first book, Before the Fame, which I believe was a national bestseller also at the time, you know, that's correct, you know that he remembers everything, that experience he ever had all his time growing up. He was practically an orphan, you know, most of his early years, a ward of the church at one point, and took to getting around in his early teenage years by hitchhiking, and by God, he and his friends hitchhiked back and forth across Canada, I don't know how many times, but they hitchhiked all over Canada. And he played, and he met people, and he wrote songs, and the songs were amazing. I remember when I first heard him in 1965, I went down to the Horseshoe Tavern to catch his act down there. And complete with the board and the stomping board and the whole thing, you know, which was sort of more of a gag than anything else, but he did it, you know. People thought it was great. But I just remember, and the songs and the albums and the productivity and the number of songs that he wrote. He wrote 3 times as many songs as I have. And everything's got, he mentions almost every town in the whole eastern section of Canada, plus everything out west too covered. He mentions everything. It's the most amazing story that Stompin' Tom has. You should get that book if you get a chance. Before the Fame, that's volume 1 only. That's his only volume 1, and I'm just starting on volume 2 myself, so it's an interesting story. I suppose that Tom would like something like, what would Tom like tonight? Let's see, let's turn that up a little bit. No, I'm not warm. You got time enough for 2 of us. What is mine, I will share. We've got things that we can do without. Anytime, anywhere. Every little daydream that appears annoyed you gives us some problems of our own. If you turn back to that page again, you need a friend. If you ask me, I'll tag along. Paper matches in the afternoon, cups of tea and all of that zen. I think it's time we took a walk outside. It seems there is no oxygen. This time tomorrow we might all be packed and gone. I believe it's best we carry on. Smoke rings rising till they disappear in the sky above. If you ask me, I'll tag along. Each and every bad dream will be hammered in the dust when we get back where we belong. If you ever turn that page again, you need a friend. If you ask me, I'll tag along. This time tomorrow we might all be back and gone. I believe it's best we carry on. Smoke rings rising till they disappear in the sky above. If you ask me, I'll tag along.
Well, on behalf of everyone here, thank you very much, Gord. Thank you. And we all got to hear the infamous guitar. That might be the case right there. Did you touch it, Randy? That's the infamous 1961 Gordon Lightfoot guitar. And I've always wanted to thank him. You know, I wanted to thank him for writing so many songs that were friendly to the banjo. Because JP too, because not everybody writes songs that are good for the banjo. So thanks very much to Gordon Lightfoot and JP Cormier. Milli Vanilli never wrote one.
Can I get a picture? Should have got me to get a camera and make a selfie or something. Should have brought a camera and done something. Do something with it. Let's do something.